Ryan, what would happen if you went to the doctor's office tomorrow after school and you went in and he's like, I'm sorry to let you know, but you have leukemia, and then you're all broken up about
leukemia?
it. Leukemia, in advanced stage. I'm not a doctor, I can't comment on that. But he tells you that you probably won't survive, but if you have this new stem cell treatment, it's expensive, but it more than likely will cure you. What would you say? It's a certified doctor. It's none of these Mexican people that sell shark stem cells. It's none of these people. It's certifiable. Would you take it? Would you want to have the moral superiority of not destroying an embryo that was going to die anyway and die, or would you rather accept it?
Generally, I mean, there are two different types of stem cells. The adult stem cells.
It would be an embryonic stem cell. Because adult stem cells can only be used for one single type of cell. So.
Well, no human being has ever been cured of a disease using an embryonic stem cell.
Really? Because according to the Roswell Cancer Institute, their survival rate increases to almost 100%.
Their survival rate, it never cures it. Do you understand that?
Then how, if your survival rate increases, how is that not a cure? If you survive something by having treatment, how are you not cured?
Cancer never truly goes away.
Well,
are you aware of that? Like,
it can go in progression.
Yeah, but it never goes away. It can never be cured.
Okay,
cancer always still sits in the body. My grandmother,
okay, so technically it's not cured, but it goes away.
Lung cancer, had a whole lung removed. Okay, had a whole lung removed. But because that the cancer had already existed, it could metastasize into other lymph nodes.
Okay.
Which can cause cancer all over the body. It never goes away, even if it goes into remission. No, but you're asking.
Stem cells made it regress, though.
You're asking a question based on cancer.
Okay, not that you could be cured. If you could get better and not die by using stem cell therapy, would you use it?
Adult stem cells, yes.
No, embryonic stem cells. If you could afford it and you would be cured, would you use it?
No.
No, why not?
Because it's an embryo. It's an embryonic stem cell.
So, a test tube baby that was literally formed, the zygote is in a test tube.
Most cancers.
You're still killing them.
That's on
most would it not die anyway, though?
Most cancers are not treated with embryonic stem cells. They take stem cells from your body already, say from your bone marrow, or from a host who has the same type of bone marrow, and they transplant it.
So you weren't okay with that either?
I'm okay with adult stem cell research.
But the positive effects of embryonic stem cell research, even though the baby's in a test tube, was never intended to survive. It never will survive if you don't take it.
Was that a question?
Yes.
So we're against the growing of babies for just, stem cells.
Will they survive either way?
What do you mean?
If they, like, say that there's tons of test tube babies out there, if stem cell research just stops, what will happen to them? They won't survive, right? So why not get some positive societal use out of them? Why not cure or make people get better, the people that have diseases, if they're going to die anyway? Shouldn't that be a priority? Isn't that a good allocation and use of resources?
Yeah.
It is? Because stem cell research, it doesn't just have positive effects on people's bodies. It can overall decrease the economic hardships of healthcare costs. Instead of elongating suffering over years and years and costing, on some articles I read, people, and this isn't any doctors, but people that had stem cell therapy and such, they reported that they had the potential to have millions of dollars in hospital bills.
The transplant itself is extremely expensive.
But rather at one point or spread out over...
For a specific person?
Yeah.
It'd be very expensive at one point because you can't just not pay for it.
But is it a lot of money now or even more money over a long period of time?
Are you... Hold on, let me find this. Are you aware... Oh, no, I can't ask you a question, but...
I'll allow it because I'm...
No, there's a... Can you repeat the question? You're asking me...
Are you aware that there's economic benefits through decreased healthcare costs through stem cell research?
As in decreasing what? Like, I don't understand.
The state of California alone expects to create over 400,000 jobs and save about $150 billion in healthcare.
Just from stem cells?
Yeah, from stem cell therapy research, the whole process. The whole state of California. It's federally funded right now. And they only
federally funded. There is
It
a
can't,
law.
because they give I think it was $5.5 million
There's
per
currently
year.
a law in place. It was. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, never mind. Did you know that based?
Wait.
I'm gonna ask you a question, but there is a when you have a stem cell transplant, most people have to take medications for the rest of their lives.
Would you rather take medication or die?
You could still die.
Be in the
You
hospital.
could still die
and have
because your
all
body
these-
could eventually reject the tissue.
Eventually.
If the medicated
Scientists,
your body.
as I said, the National Institute of Health says that the actual chance of the body rejecting the stem cells is very low. Very, very, very low. Almost infinitesimally low.
If taken one from an embryonic stem cell or taken from your own body. That's the
From
only
both,
two.
there's a negative, not negative, there's a negatable chance.
No, because when you take it from someone
No.
else's body, your body instantly rejects the tissue. It happens with people getting transplants.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Where's your source? WebMD?
That should
The
be
U.S.
common.
Department of Health and Human Services. I think the government supersedes a private website on the internet.
So then you're saying that when a person gets a liver transplant, their body
We're not talking about
automatically-
liver transplants,
I'm
are
talking
we?
about transplants.
Well, I'm
in
talking
general.
about stem cell
It's the
research
same
and stem cell
concept.
therapy. It's the same concept, but it's not the same exact thing.
You have a better chance of rejecting stem cells than you do a liver because the tissue is already there. in the
As
liver,
I said,
where it has to create new
the
tissue.
vast majority of doctors support stem cell research, and they all agree that the chances of that happening are negligible.
All of them?
Every single one.
Not every
Because
single
I've got
doctor.
doctors here that are saying that.
That's why I said the vast majority, not all of them. Are you aware that there's methods of getting stem cells without actually destroying the fetus? Are you
yeah,
aware of that?
we already talked about
There's
that.
no, I'm not talking about adult stem cell research. I'm talking about altered nuclear transfer. An embryo is not even created in the first place. It's a derivative of somatic cell nuclear transfer. In the nucleus of the somatic cell, that's in any body cell other than an egg. It's altered or genetically reprogrammed, and prior to it being transferred into an egg. And the consequence is that a somatic cell DNA still produces stem cells, but an embryo is not generated. And there's also blastomere extraction, and that's when an embryo is created but not destroyed, and it's performed on a 2-day-old embryo, and it's following the division of the fertilized egg into 8 blastomeres or cells. And previously, the techniques used for harvesting this involved the derivation. Hold on, what? How do I pronounce it?
You'll get there. You'll get there. No,
Hold on, give me a couple seconds.
You're fine, take your turn.
It just talked about, it got used to get them at a later stage, but now, because of improved technology and further research, they can get it at an earlier age and not destroy the embryo at all. So what
Was that-
embryonic
is
stem...
that a
No,
question?
do you support embryonic stem cell research that does not destroy the embryo?
Well, if you said that there is no embryo created, then it's not embryonic.
So
stem
it wouldn't
cells.
be destroying an embryo, but they'd still be embryonic stem cells and or altered
But you're
nuclear
saying that
transfer.
there's no embryo created. You said
But
that
there's
in the
still
first
embryonic
sentence.
stem cells.
It's not an embryo. How can it be?
Okay, then pre-life stem, whatever you want to call it, there's
It's a
still
different
stem
kind.
cells.
Okay.
It's a different kind of stem.
No, there's still the same
It meets-
stem
no,
cells,
okay,
just
okay.
not from a
I
created
hear that
embryo.
it meets the defining criteria for a stem cell, or an embryonic stem cell, but it's not known if they differ in clinically significant ways. So it technically meets it, but who knows if it has the same advantages.
Who knows? That's why we should further stem cell research instead of stopping it. That's the whole point. That's why we need to know how
I've been
accurate.
waiting for a question.
I'm responding to what you said. I'm asking, do you support these methods? You haven't yet
I've
answered my
never
question.
heard of these methods. You know,
So
asking me if I had heard. I haven't
ignorance of
heard.
facts is what you're claiming right now.
I've never heard of that.
So you
exactly.
don't know what these are, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I've never
Okay,
heard of
okay.
that exactly.
Are you aware that aborted fetuses can only be used with the mother's permission? You know that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They can't just, and even as you claim that there have been cases of stem cells being harvested from fetuses that have been civically born for that, then that's not widespread.
I'm really confused. Was there a question there? The whole point is to question me,
Okay.
not just...
You were just questioning me, so...
No, I had to ask if there's a question. If you didn't ask me a question. That's kind of how it works.
The question was, do you support non-embryonic destroying?
Okay. You're on 5 minutes rebuttal. Okay. Who's first? You ready? Go on.
Huh? I upload them.
It's okay, take your time.
Are you aware of the costs of stem cell research?
I'm aware of the economic benefits.
Economic benefits.
The benefits, i.e. states like California saving billions of dollars compared to 5.5 million in funding. I think that's a vastly returned investment.
For the state of California, but what about stem cell research as a whole? Like on a global
I
scale?
think it's similar. There were stats for, on the website we looked at, there were stats for other states such as New Jersey, and they also saved tons of money. Tons. Billions. Billions.
No? Alright. How's your day going?
It's alright, kind of tired. Didn't want to be here, but
Yeah, I was kind of expecting this.
This debate's pretty fun. I don't know anything I left out.
How do you, what is your stance on the implications from embryonic stem cells versus adult stem cells? Which do you feel would be...
I mean, adult stem cells don't ever destroy an embryo, but they also can only be purposed for one type of cell. Hold on, actually, I have something about this. But the therapeutic potential is vastly lower because of their limiting to one type of cell. And, yeah, they also think, you say that victims can, I mean, not victims, patients. Pretend I didn't say that. Patience. Have patience with me.
I got that on camera.
Actually, adult stem cells can have developed genetic abnormalities through time, and that would make them less.
Same with embryonic ones. Both can
But they
cause
haven't had any
growth
time. No. There's actual problems in the adult stem cells themselves.
from being developed, like in the body.
Yeah, but embryonic stem cells are from before the body
Right.
actually
Right.
fully developed. So there's drastically less potential for that.
But it can still occur. There can still be large
Well, anything can happen, right?
That's exactly.
Is there
what
another
you
question?
said.
What is the question? I do think that embryonic stem cells, as do the vast majority of scientists and medical professionals, that embryonic stem cells have much more potential and need to be funded more and researched more.
So you think that depriving life is okay?
I think that it's not depriving life if it's going to die anyways. If a baby was already going to be aborted, why not have, even though abortion's horrible, why not have some positive thing come out of that, if anything? If a baby's going to die in a test tube already, then why not have some positive economic, social, human effect out of that?
Yes, but like, let's say abortions were made illegal. Like, where would the research be funded from? If
In
there was no
vitro
longer
fertilization,
in vitro fertilization.
as the majority comes from now.
Don't you think that's, maybe from a moral standpoint, that's wrong?
Not really.
Grow a life, it could be a life that you're taking
Could
in.
be. No, actually it couldn't, because it's in a test tube. It won't survive. So actually,
Yeah, we're
no, there's...
creating this thing specifically just to research, stem cells, and that it could be a life. We are creating it.
No, it
ourselves.
couldn't. It's in a test tube. It's not in a womb. It won't survive. It can't, there's a 0% chance that that will turn into a baby,
Yeah,
and
but
in
it's
9
only
months,
in that test
in
tube
9
because
months,
we
the
put
test
it there.
tube won't break open and there'll be a newborn there. That just
I'm not
doesn't
saying that.
happen. Like,
I'm saying that we are putting them in these test.
who's B?
I mean, like.
Are you a stem
people.
cell doctor?
It's not like a natural thing.
I mean, computers aren't, the phone you're using to read off of now isn't natural. Should you not use that? 'Cause it's
That was
not-
quite insulting.
He's talking about unnatural.
They're creating a life. We are creating life. It's not naturally created.
Well, is it
Just
scientifically
kill
a
it.
life? Is it scientifically a life? Answer me that.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
That is
You're
maybe
meeting
the
us on that
religious definition of a life.
The one I gave you, that life begins as soon as,
Begins at conception.
yes. Which is when the egg meets the sperm cell and creates an embryo. That's when life begins. That's when.
I think you're.
Okay, time's up.
Yeah,
Here, you want to take this one? I don't have anything to say.
I find it entertaining.
I know, I'm shocked.
Next time I'm gonna bring popcorn.
Go ahead, your 5 minutes began.
You have been talking about the economic drawbacks since it is a stem
We
cell
get a
research
bag
does
of 'em?
cost stem cell therapy. This costs a lot of money upfront at one point in time. It doesn't go through it. But if you look at, let's say someone with cancer who has to go through numerous chemo transplants and stay in the hospital for months on end, that's also going to, when it adds up, that's going to cost them more over time. And numerous hospitals and insurances and everything let patients break up the cost of their medical bills. So even though it may be one
Big payment.
big payment at one time, it's still going to be cheaper over time. So why are you saying that it is more expensive for stem cell therapy?
I guess the real question is, are you pro survival of people that are going to die, or anti-survival of people that are going to die from sickness?
That's really not the question.
But that stem cell research gives definitive, okay, maybe not cures as you said before, but it definitively leads to drastically higher
In every
survival
case.
rates. 95. That's
In every case that it's used.
19 out of 20.
In every case that it's used.
Maybe
She only gave me a statistic between 84 and
95.
90%, 84 and 94% of survival rate in leukemia children.
No, he read that wrong. It
Children.
was actually children and adults. He just read that wrong.
Okay, well I heard children.
I'm sorry
And
what
that's
you heard, but it was read wrong.
one specific case. How can you make an argument for every case that stem cells are being
Isn't that
used?
isn't that how we get conclusions from everything? We look at what has already happened. Isn't
What-
that the basis of science as
You're
it is?
saying every
Isn't-
single disease that we use stem cells for will be cured.
Did I once say that?
Yes,
I said it could lead to drastically higher survival
all.
rates. No, I said in 95% of people with cancer.
In every form of cancer.
With leukemia specifically is one we found,
Okay,
but it's
leukemia,
higher
exactly.
in all of them.
Okay, do you have numbers for all of them then?
I didn't bother to get it, but there are high numbers.
Okay, so I've only got numbers
What-
here
what numbers
for
do you have?
leukemia.
What numbers do you have for them? Do you have any?
It's not my, yeah, I
Not asked.
don't have.
Well, no, you had numbers before of the people who died from stem cell research.
No, I have that, those
Wondering-
numbers on the statistics for graft versus host disease,
Oh,
which is a rejection of stem
Is
cells.
that also from Medbury?
so to reiterate, you would not accept embryonic stem cell transplants and therapy, even if you knew you were going to die. You're that noble to take the morally high ground that you won't support stem cell therapy.
Well, here's the thing, I can't say the what if situation, because one, I don't know what.
Well, you just asked me a what if situation. What if people's bodies reject it? You just asked me that what if, and
That's
that's
more
very.
common. You're asking
No.
me
That's
on a personal
scientifically
level.
unfounded.
No, you're asking me on a personal, no, that, your body does reject tissue.
Yeah, I mean, you said for other transplants, but stem cell is very
And stem
minimal.
cells, it doesn't matter, your body, any new material added to the body has a chance to reject it.
Yes, but according to the National Institute of Health from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that's infinitesimally small.
So would you be against a liver transplant then? Because if somebody has a liver transplant, they can reject that liver. Same with a heart transplant. Would you be against those if your basis for this is there's a high chance of them rejecting it, 30 to 70% of like a was a host disease or not. The same thing can happen for a liver or heart transplant too.
So let's stop those two.
Right, but those don't have the chance of creating tumors or aggravating cancer to a higher level.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, worse.
mostly scientific speculation because it's underfunded, the research, so we need to research it more to fully understand.
But it has happened.
No, it hasn't. That's scientific speculation.
I have a case here of a child who had ataxia telangiectasia, which is a, it is a disease. I can't find the papers. But based on, he had a very small chance. It's an always fatal disease. Always fatal. And he had stem cells, a stem cells transplant. And the boy developed growths in his brain and spinal cord. Due to these...
What is the source from this?
I don't have the exact
Can't
webpage.
validate that then, I'm sorry.
I
That
can pull it
paper
up for you, but I don't have the URL here.
I'm sorry.
The tumor, it looked benign at first, but it was determined that it was some form of cancer, and that it was
I thought you
determined...
just said it was a specific form of cancer.
I didn't say that it was cancer
I'm
at
sorry,
all.
I'm done, we're done. Sorry.
But it was determined that it couldn't have stemmed from the boy's own tissue.
Okay.
So you're saying there's not, it didn't definitively be found to be from stem cells, it just wasn't in the boy's own tissue.
Do you understand can I just finish the statement?
I'll let him, I don't care.
When it's not his own tissue, because the stem cells aren't his
But
tissue.
was it 100% found to be stem cells though? The way you word it
The
makes
stem
it...
cells create the new tissue, which the body rejects.
But was it from stem
creates
cells
it-
though?
yes.
Answer my question. Yes, so you think it was. You said earlier that there just wasn't from his own body.
All right, closing.
I don't think you understand what you're talking about.
I do.
We're done.
I know. Closing. Okay, closing statement. Right
Oh
here.
yeah, you got
Go ahead.
Stem cell research occurs because stem cells are considered generic cells that can divide indefinitely and can create other cells that will help repair parts of the human body. However, is it really ethical to do so by destroying another human life? As stated by the National Institutes of Health, the early stage of an embryo, called a blastocyst, has inner cells that give rise to the entire body of an organism, including all of its organs, meaning that embryo has what it takes to create a human being. It is not ethical, it is in fact immoral to destroy an embryo in research when it has the ability to be a human being. Many think that the subject of stem cell research shouldn't be a concern because with the use of adult stem cells, no harm is done to any human being. But the fact is, adult stem cells can only provide so much for research because they've already started to specialize, and therefore can only become one of a few cell types. Scientists then turn to embryonic stem cell research because these cells have not yet specialized. As stated by the Center for Bioethics and Human Dignity, very few successes have been made by embryonic stem cell research. Instead, it is noted that scientists run into problems when conducting this research and don't get what they desire out of it. Therefore, not much is being gained through this research, and yet lives are being killed and destroyed for it. Dr. William Cass, a former chairman of the President's Council on Bioethics, said, "The moral issue does not disappear just because the embryos are very small or because they are no longer wanted for reproductive purposes. Because they are living human embryos, destroying them is not a morally neutral act. Just as no society can afford to be callous to the needs of suffering humanity, none can afford to be cavalier about how it treats nascent human life. Embryos have the ability to become human beings. By condoning stem cell research, we're allowing the devaluation of human life. It is unethical and immoral to destroy one life to save another."
Okay, due to
Hold on.
Don, come on.
Okay, go ahead.
To conclude this debate, we believe that we should allow scientists to continue to have access to stem cell research. If we continue to allow access to these stem cells, we could have an amazing amount of potential of what kind of diseases and illnesses we'll be able to treat with these specialized cells. We already see what stem cells are able to do with diseases like stroke, leukemia, diabetes, and all other kinds of different diseases. And being able to increase the survival rate of many people and helping the patient have lower costs in their treatments is probably one reason why we should have these stem cells. As Stephen Hawking says, Stem cell research is the key to developing cures for degenerative conditions like Parkinson's and motor neuron disease, for which I and many others suffer. And the main argument that people have with stem cell research is the fact that embryonic stem cells come from a human zygote, but it is shown that there are other ways that we could get embryonic stem cells through different methods by using destroying an embryo. And also, many of the embryonic stem cells come from in vitro fertilization, and those embryos don't ever come from or were ever in the womb of a woman. And if these stem cells are able to help Gordie Howe recover from a stroke at the age of 86, imagine what scientists could be able to do as they further show what potential these stem cells have. We could save and stop the suffering of the lives of the sick people living and fighting through the current illnesses they are going through.
Okay, thank you, guys. All right, stay up here. Okay, vote, please. And then you guys have questions. What? Yes, please. I have multiple questions. That was tough for you.
I didn't care as much about the topic as I could have. Cared more about the nature one, but
No info.
I just hate nature.